Hi everyone, welcome back to Nick's Diecast. So for today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale 1999 Chevrolet Corvette coupe made by Welly. So this is a pretty cool model from Welly. They don't actually make it anymore. I don't remember when it was actually discontinued, but when they were still making it, it came in like the regular coupe version that you see here, and they also did the convertible version as well. They both came in a variety of colors. I think they came in like a bright red, a bright yellow. This cool looking silver that you see here with the kind of beigeish brown interior, and a few other colors I can't remember off the top of my head. But overall, I would say it's a pretty solid effort from Welly. It doesn't match up to like their current like detail in terms of their current models, but in terms of like an older model from the early 2000s, this one is really good. So in terms of the 5th generation Corvette, they made that from 1997 until 2004. There is a wide variety of 1/18 scale models that you can actually get of it. I think it all comes down to what you're willing to spend and like what year you want and color preference you want. So Welly's the only one that made the 1999 version. But in terms of newer versions of the C5, Auto Art made the 2003 and 2004. I think Ertl did the 2003 as well. Maisto made the Corvette Z06, the 5th generation Corvette Z06. And Barago, I think, made the 1998 convertible or something like that. I'd say overall, Welly kind of fits in like the middle of all these models in terms of its overall detail and everything like that. And I'd say it's worth checking out for sure. So let's go ahead and get into the details here. We'll start up here with the front. No headlights to be seen because, of course, the C5 Corvette had pop-up headlights. This was actually the last car to have pop-up headlights. When they discontinued the C5 Corvette in 2004, it was actually the last car ever to have these kinds of headlights, so that's actually kind of cool. But you do see the visible turn signals and fog lights down here. Welly actually did those as separate plastic pieces. They aren't just painted on there like a lot of budget models do, so that's really cool to see. These grills here are all hollow and functional, which is really cool. They're not just like solid plastic or anything like that. There's a Corvette inscription here that's actually etched into the metalwork, and it looks excellent, especially from a distance. The Corvette badge up here that you see, it's just kind of painted on, but it still looks pretty good. Would have been cool to see it as like a three-dimensional badge, but again, this is an older budget model, so it's not really a big deal that it doesn't have that. Moving along to the side, we'll take a look at these wheels here. Welly did a really good job with these wheels. I think these were nicknamed wagon wheels, and 1999 was actually the last year that these wheels came on the C5 Corvette. The first year that this generation Corvette came out in 1997, they actually had these wheels as an option, and they offered them until I think 2000. But they're really cool, kind of like a basic 5-spoke wheel, and Welly did a pretty good job with them overall. The disc brake does move with the wheel, but there are no brake calipers, which is a little bit odd to see. I don't know why they didn't include those. Would have been nice if they did, but it doesn't really detract too much from the model in terms of its overall detail. Paintwork, I would say, is very good. It has like a metallic look to it. A little tiny bubble up here, but you can't really see that unless it's in direct light. But yeah, overall, really good job with the paint on here. And this was an actual color spec available on the real Corvette C5. You had the silver with the black roof and this interior color. So that's really cool to see. Mirrors are solid metal. They aren't separate plastic pieces, so they will never break off or anything like that for you. That's really cool to see that. Pretty much 9 times out of 10 budget models just have like plastic or rubber mirrors. They don't even include like the metal mirrors. So that's a really cool extra detail, I would say, for sure. These turn signals, separate plastic pieces. They aren't just painted on like most budget brands do. So that's another kind of cool thing to see. There is a peg, but I would prefer a plastic piece with a peg instead of a cartoonish looking painted on turn signal. So that looks good overall. Corvette inscription back here. This is actually plastic back here, but you can't tell because the paint pretty much fits well with like the metal paint too. There is a Corvette badge up there. It's kind of the same one as the front, I think same size and everything too. And you do get separate license plate lights back here. And the taillights look really good as well. There's no pegs to be seen. They have kind of a nice texture on the lenses and everything like that. So that's cool to see. Full steering and a really good steering too. No suspension, however. I think a lot of older Wellys, they didn't include suspension, so that's not a big deal. So in terms of detail, this model actually has a cool feature, and that's that you can actually remove the targa top, like so. So you can kind of look at the model without it on. Looks really cool with or without this roof panel on. But the roof panel does clip in place. You can see there's 4 clips on there, and here's the little holes for the clips on the windshield and on the rear bar back here. And unlike the Ertl version of this model, it doesn't just fall off when you turn the car upside down. It stays in place, which is good, because then when you turn it upside down, you don't risk like losing it or damaging it if it falls on a hard floor. And this does actually fit in the trunk, so we'll open up the trunk and show you that too. The trunk doesn't stay open by itself anymore, so I gotta kind of hold it. Not much to see in here. It does have kind of a texture to it, so it's almost like carpeting, but not really. And the top, as I said, just kind of rests in place. So let me grab that and put it in here. Kind of hard to do with one hand. There we go. And yeah, it just closes up like so, and you can kind of store it back there. Just like the real model too. It would have been nice if Welly had actually included clips and you could like clip the top on inside the trunk. I think the Auto Art version has that. I think the Ertl version has it too. But this version doesn't have it. So if you turn it upside down, it'll just fall out of the trunk. But at least they have like the panel that comes off. Like that's a little, like that's a cool extra feature that I wasn't actually aware of until after I got the model out of the box when I bought it from the hobby shop. Moving along to the engine, we'll take a look at that. Overall, pretty good job with the engine detail here. It doesn't have like too much depth to it, but it's not just one plastic piece. There's several pieces in there. There's a nice Corvette inscription in silver on either side of the main block here. You can see the alternator. There's a little bit of wiring and stuff throughout. Could use a bit more coloring and detail, but this is an older Welly model. If this were a newer one, it would have probably like a lot more detail in the engine. But overall, what they have here, I would say, is good, especially for a budget model. And you can see down at the bottom a little bit, like there's my finger waving through it there. Underneath the hood, there's like kind of this like spider web pattern. I'm not really sure what that is, but I think the real hood has it, so that's cool to see. Doors open very wide with the dog-leg hinges. We'll go ahead and take a look at the detail on the interior now. Not too much to see on the door panels. They do have kind of a nice texture to them, and Welly did do the door handles and locks nicely. I don't know if they should be colored in or not, but at least the detail is there. Even the little door pockets, they actually hollowed those out. These little red like reflectors are down below there too. So take a look at this one too. The seats look really good as well. They have a nice shape to them. They don't fold or anything like that, but they do have a nice texture. And Welly does include seat belts on here, so that's good to see. Not many older cars have the seat belts on there. The floor, they do actually a separate color. They do the floors as black instead of the dashboard, which is like a beige color, so that's a kind of a cool extra touch there. Center console, the buttons are just kind of painted on like randomly. They're just kind of all painted white. There should be some like HVAC controls like red and blue on there, so it looks like they just kind of randomly painted them. Doesn't look too great, but at least they painted them at all. And then there's the Corvette logo on the steering wheel there. That looks really good. And the steering wheel, of course, does turn with the wheels too. Could use a bit more detailing overall. Like the vents look kind of cheap. They don't have like any coloring on them or anything. But again, it's an older model, so not a big deal. There are pedals. You just can't really see them, and they're done nicely. They're done as like separate plastic pieces, which is cool to see. We'll take a look at the underside. Well, it does a good job generally with the undercarriages of their models. The exhaust is chrome, very Maisto-like, but it does look detailed overall. You can see there's like actually little fans down here, and some of the engine detail actually shows through as well. But yeah, overall they did a good job with that. If you can find this model for a decent price, I would definitely recommend it, especially because it comes in, you know, 2 body styles, and you have the roof that comes off, and it has all the colors that it came with and all that too. So if you're a Corvette fan, this is actually the first Corvette I added to my collection 6 years ago, so that's kind of a cool fact there. I would recommend it for sure. So as always, make sure to subscribe and like the video, and also be sure to follow my Instagram page. That's Nick's Diecast page, all lowercase and no spacing. I hope this review helps. Thanks for watching, guys.